Jim Mundorf, Lonesome Lands. Beef industry collusion. Here's how it's allegedly happening. Tyson Foods, Cargill, JBS, and National. The beef industry has been consolidated down to where those four corporations control 85% of all the beef produced in the U.S. Right now, they're being accused of working together to manipulate prices. There's a couple different lawsuits that have come about before the coronavirus or any of this stuff going on now. They were being sued by both a distributor on the retail end and a group of cattlemen on the supply end. And now they're being, the president has asked for an investigation. So how they're being accused, or how this is, they're allegedly colluding together. There's a witness in these lawsuits who worked for one of the packing plants. And he says when cattle prices got too high, those four corporations all had an agreement to reduce their production. And what that does, reducing the production industry-wide, is it creates, you're putting out less beef, you're creating more demand for beef, and which increases your prices on the retail side with your distributor, grocery stores, restaurants, and in the end, the consumer who fits the bill. On the supply side, you have your cattle prices. You're reducing your production, you're buying less cattle, you're oversupplying your cattle industry, which is going to push that price down, and which affects the entire industry, your cattle feeder, your stocker, your backgrounder, cow-calf guy, all get screwed when this allegedly happens. And so what it does for your beef packer in the middle is he has his retail price on the top and he has his cattle supply on the bottom, and in between is his margins, his profits. So when he reduces his production, if they all agree to do it and they do it industry-wide, you are increasing your demand and you are decreasing your supply. In the middle is your profits, record profits. Increasing your supply on the bottom, cattle pricing going down, beef pricing going up. And how that works, of course, you're saying, how can you sell less product and make more money? But it's much more cost efficient to sell $6 hamburger, sell twice as much or half as much $6 hamburger as it is to sell twice as much $3 hamburger, because you are, your costs for employees, maintenance, and your facilities, which is what has brought us kind of into today. Over the past few years, before coronavirus, those four corporations have shut down, by reducing their production, they have shut down 12 beef packing plants throughout the U.S. And what that has done, and these aren't the coronavirus shutdowns that we're talking about now. This has happened over the course of years, that beef packing plants have shut down and just sat empty. And what that has done in the lawsuit states that has stripped out the beef processing capacity, has stripped out 2 million head of cattle per year, the ability to process 2 million head of cattle per year by closing those plants, which will come in pretty handy now. 12 more packing plants and the ability, the beef packing capacity to process 2 million more head of cattle. They'd come in pretty handy for the consumer and pretty handy for the cattlemen, because right now with the beef shortage it's going on. So what I want people to remember is that this is not a coronavirus issue. This is a 5 years issue. Up until about the end of 2014, cattle prices and beef prices correlated. Demand for beef will go up, cattle prices will go up. At the end of right around the end of 2014, cattle prices dropped and beef prices stayed high. And since that time, there has really been no correlation between beef demand and cattle prices. And so now we have packing plant shutdowns due to coronavirus. And your beef packer in the middle is price gouging your consumer on the retail side, and he's price gouging the cattleman on the supply side. And in the middle, he is making unbelievable profits. But the problem with looking at it right now is he has for the one time in his life, the beef packer has an excuse to have a reduced production with the coronavirus shutdowns. So what needs to happen, what I want people to remember, is that what needs to happen with this investigation is that you go back from the time when, before beef packing plants shut down, like about 3 weeks ago, when beef packing facilities were running at full capacity and everybody and their dog was running out getting as much toilet paper and hamburger as they could get their hands on, and the demand for beef had never been higher. And all packing plants were running at full capacity, or had the ability to run at full capacity, and the cattle price dropped through the floor for no reason. And if those corporations actually were competing with each other, they would be competing for the cattle. They would be actually getting a decent bid for cattle, and they would be competing for market share. So if one of those corporations wanted to do, before coronavirus, if one of those corporations wanted to reduce their production, another corporation would come in and want to take that market share. They're reducing their production, reducing their market share. Another corporation would want that market share. But if they have an agreement across the board between them all, then it works. And that's what's being accused of right now. So I just want people to know that this is not a coronavirus production problem. It is a 5 years problem of what's been going on, and which has kind of led into this. And so that's pretty much it. And now I know that there's a lot of people asking, why can't I buy direct? Why can't I buy direct from my rancher, buy beef direct from my rancher, and we just get rid of the middleman? And I'm going to do another video and talk about that later on. So stay tuned. Adios.